Okay, now we're going to add navigation. We're going to use this package, which we can install very easily, react-navigation/native. And we're going to have to install a few things, it looks like. So we're going to cd into our app. Must be in the app. Don't make the mistake of doing it in the root directory. That's going to not going to work. So we're going to install that. While that's working, we're going to grab this. Easy peasy. Next one. Now we're also going to use the stack navigation and tab navigation. And we have to install additional packages for those. So for stack, it's all in the documentation here. Navigators, stack. We want the native stack. Install the native stack. Make sure it's the native stack and not the stack. We don't want that. We also want bottom tabs. Yeah. So bottom tabs. That should do us for now. Now, is there anything else? Ah, yeah, we need to do a pod install. So that's one thing we need to do, npx pod install, and this will set up everything that needs to happen on the iOS, like the native application. It needs to just make some changes. It uses pod files to do that. If you've used React Native in any sort of depth, you'll know, you should have come across pod files before. Sweet. And there's one extra thing we need to do. Yep. We need to add this to our Android project. So to do that, this is kind of annoying, but gotta do it. We're going to open Android Studio. And this is just some app that I had from before. We don't really care about that. I'm going to open chats, app, and then Android inside our actual real-time chat app, and then just highlight the Android folder and open. Trust, yeah. So we're going to open that. It's going to take a second to load. It takes a second. Okay. We need to open the real-time chats, app, Java, real-time chat, and then in our main activity, I believe it was, in our main activity we need to add this function, this onCreate function, for some reason. Double click that, open it up, and you should be able to just place it anywhere. I'm just going to place it at the end. Hit save. Go back here. Also need to add the following import statement to the top of this file. Yeah, that makes sense. So this needs to be an import. Add one additional import, and I'll add it at the top so that it's alphabetical, because I'm weird about that. And then that just imports this bundle here. Save that. Quit. Don't need to do anything else there. This change is required to avoid crashes related to view state not being persistent, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's done. Now this is done. Now we can cd back into our root, and we're going to completely make run. Now we remember we created that run. It's going to run on both. I'm just going to rebuild. Sweet. Alrighty, looks like that worked. Now we're going to start building out some of our views. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a bunch of different views that we're going to sort of pad this out of it. So we're going to first create a sign-in.jsx, and in that we're just going to add some boilerplate. It's going to be pretty simple. We're going to go easy peasy. Then we're going to make another one called sign up, which is going to be our register. JSX. Sign up. Up. We're going to create one called home.jsx. I'm going to make another one called search, which we're going to use to search for our friends. And one more for now. It's going to be our messages or our chat. Messages. All right, we've definitely got enough for the moment. Now over here we're going to import our sign in screen. See, if you pick it, I'll do it again, import sign up. It's much easier if you let VS Code find it for you, because then it'll select the import path and it'll do all that for you. So we picked sign up. Wow, that was easy. imports home screen, imports search, import messages. Easy peasy. Now we're going to add, with our navigation, we need to wrap our entire app in something called a navigation container, which we can find here. Navigation container. It's pretty easy. We can copy it from here, or we can type it out ourselves. Either one is fine. We'll get rid of our splash screen for the time being. Get rid of that. We also need to navigation container, bang, and it's going to import it for us, which is very handy. Now inside our navigation container, we're going to have a status bar. So our app is going to be, the theme is going to be light. We're not going to deal with a dark screen, so we want the actual status bar text to be dark, so that it's, you know, dark text on white background. Now we need a stack navigator. First we need to create a stack. And in order to do that, we need to create this constant stack object. Create native stack navigator, that one right there. It's going to import it for us. And then I like to put everything that is, you know, everything that's mine, I like to put at the bottom, and then everything that's like from a library, I like to put on the top, but that's just me. So you have to create stack navigator, and all of this is in the documentation, which we can go down here, native stack, installation. How do we use it? We have to create a stack object here, and then we need to wrap everything inside this stack navigator. So we'll just grab that, just drop that in there. And then our screens, we've got a bunch of different screens here. So our first screen is going to be our splash screen, and then sign in, sign up, our home, search, our messages. And then you can probably tell what we're going to do here with this component, our splash screen, sign in, sign up, search, messages screen, screen, and screen. Now when we save or reload, it should just give us our, nothing should change. It should display exactly the same thing. Except now we have a navigation bar at the top, which means it's working. It's exactly what we want, what we expect. Now we're going to get rid of this navigation bar on certain screens, which we're going to do the way you can pass an option here that says options equals header shown. Yeah, we've got all the options here. False. So you can pass it that way. See, it's gone now. It's gone on one. It's not gone on the other one. Yep, now it's gone. But I don't like to do it that way. I like to do it in a different way. The way we're going to do it is I'm going to go to the splash object. Up here I'm going to go use layout effect. We grab that. It's imported it for us because we let VS Code do it for us. Now this is very similar to use effects. The only difference is this runs before anything renders. So, use effect runs, I think after once, this one runs before use effect. That's pretty much all we need to know for the time being. And all of our screens are passed a navigation object, which we can access just like that. We can deconstruct it there like that. And then inside our layered effects, before anything is rendered, before anything happens, we can change, we can set some options. We can go navigation.set options. And then we can set header shown false in here. Now, I like to do it in here. I like to manage these screen options within the actual screen itself instead of passing them here, because I like to keep this nice and clean, because if you don't, you can have, options equals, blah, 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 blah. And it just gets quite messy. I don't like it there. Trust me. It's a lot cleaner and makes a lot more sense, I believe. But that's just me. Okay, so now when we reload, it should still be missing, and that's exactly what we would expect. It's good. Now, how do we navigate? That's something we really are interested in doing as well. So the way I'm going to do that is we're going to have some state. So we're going to create a state right now, and that's going to be, it's going to basically tell us if our app has initialized yet. Because remember, we said we're going to display this while it is looking. While it's, if you have stored credentials, it's going to see, it's going to hit the database, and it's going to relog you in, and it's going to get a fresh token, all this kind of stuff. If that process is complete, then this initialized value will be true. We're going to use state, and we're going to call this true. Now, the way that it's recommended that you handle this type of situation, where you want to display part of your stack navigation in a certain situation. Say we might want to display only the splash, and you can't navigate to any of the other part of the state at all. And then when you're logged in, for example, let's just say I'm logged in, I don't want to press back and then end up at the sign in. For example, you don't want that. You want, basically, if you're signed in, you want to separate this. You want this to be separate. And if you're not signed in, then you only really want to display these. And if it's loading, you want to display the first one. This creates, and will conditionally render only this little block, only this little block, or only this little block. And so the first thing we'll do is we'll go, if it's not initialized, then we will conditionally show this. So if it's not initialized, then we want to display our splash. And if it is initialized, but it's not authenticated, I'll grab another one, authenticated, we'll say that that's false for now, authenticated, Ugh. Okay. If it's not initialized, then we want to display the splash. If it is not, if it is initialized but it's not authenticated, then we want to display our sign in, sign up, all that kind of stuff. But if we are initialized and we are authenticated, then we can go ahead and display the goods, the hidden protected part of the application, which we're only going to show if we have like a valid user and all that kind of stuff. Indent that. Sweet. And this is our actual entry point of our app. Like this is where all the business happens, and it's either going to display, the correct, section. We can save that, and then we'll say, okay, it's not initialized. That's what we're going to start with. Reload. Not initialized. It's displaying our custom splash, which is what we want. If it is initialized, set that to true, then we want to display our sign-in page, which is exactly what we get here. If authentication is true, then we want to display our home, and our home is going to contain our tab view, which we're going to make next.